morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day here at Red Arrow Camp, and we wish you all well. This week, we have a special chapel talk titled Crossing Deserts, written by Drew Mueller. So sit back, imagine those beautiful mornings on Trout Lake, and enjoy.
Within minutes, my 115-mile walk through the desert hills becomes a thing apart. A disjunct reality on the far side of a bottomless abyss, immediately beyond physical recollection. But it's all still there, in my heart and soul. The walk, the hills, the sky, the solitary pain and pleasure. They will grow larger, sweeter, and lovelier in the days to come. Like a treasure found and then voluntarily surrendered. Return to the mountains with my blessing. Leaves a golden glowing on the mind. Edward Abbey.
Your will is free. It was free when it wanted the desert. It is free since it could choose the path that leads to the crossing desert. It is free since it could choose the pace, but is also unfree because you must go through the desert. Unfree since every path in the labyrinth manner touches every foot of the desert's surface. Franz Kafka.
Once in a lullaby, somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Ooh, someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops, high above chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh, why can't I seek trees of green and red roses too. We watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, brightness of day and the darkness of night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbows, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, singing, how do you do? they're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry and we'll watch them grow, and they'll learn much more than we'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Someday I'll wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops high above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. Skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. What a wonderful world.
In 1977, a young woman from Queensland, Australia, walked out of the town of Alice Spring in the center of the Australian continent and into the Great Western Desert. The Great Western Desert stretches from Alice Springs all the way to the Indian Ocean, 1,700 miles away. It's the third largest desert in the world at over 1 million square miles. It is universally considered to be the harshest ecosystem in Australia and one of the most inhospitable places on the planet, with little rain and an average daily high well over 100 degrees much of the year. Robin Davidson intended to walk across it all, over miles of rolling sand dunes stretching out as far as the eye can see, under the bright sun that scorched the skin, and through the high heat that played tricks on the mind in the form of mirages appearing close to the horizons, fooling thirsty, heat-affected travelers into thinking they saw water in the distance. But Robin Davidson was not your average traveler. She had spent the last 2 years raising camels on a farm in Alice Springs so that 4 could carry water and food on her journey. She had prepared physically for the long walk. Still, the Western Desert had never been crossed on foot, and many thought the attempt to be suicide. How would she find water? What if she got lost? What if she ran out of food? She had endured hardship from a young age, and it felt like her entire childhood was a long desert crossing, never an end in sight. She had spent her early adult years wondering who she was, what she was good at, and what, if anything, she could offer society or any one individual in her life. By 1975, she had conceived of her desert trek as a means to define herself, her life, and the places and people she loved. She left Alice Spring with her dog, the 4 camels hauling supplies. As she took her first few steps into the desert sand, her friends who had gathered to say goodbye were certain they would never see her again. The trip started out rough. Robin had learned to work with her own camels, but had to learn how to deal with the aggressive wild camels that roamed the desert. She had spent her whole life under the bright Australian sun, but to go days, weeks, and months without any shade whatsoever required her to travel early in the morning and keep as much skin covered as possible, no matter how hot the extra clothing made her. She had practiced reducing her water intake, but nothing could prepare her for being thirsty for hours or days, unable to tap into her supplies beyond what she'd rationed, or risk dying of thirst before reaching the next oasis. Every obstacle could have been an excuse to quit. Instead, each obstacle was an opportunity to learn and adapt. We all have deserts we have to cross in order to get to where we want to go in life. Are you willing to step into the sand and sun to find the other side? Are you content staying behind where it is safe, comfortable, and easy? Maybe your desert has always been a summer at Red Arrow, pushing yourself to be better even when it's unfamiliar, uncomfortable, or just not what you want to do. What if you fall down? Maybe your desert is your summer without camp, bored, stuck at home, unable to visit with the friends and family that are normally there to talk, share laughs, and comfort you when needed. We're all in the middle of that desert right now. Maybe your desert is the school year. Struggling in classes or sports? Or maybe being picked on or having trouble making friends? What if you get embarrassed? What if you try your hardest but still aren't the best? Do you give up when you find yourself stuck in these deserts? Or do you take it one step at a time, never standing still, always moving forward until you reach the other side? People have crossed harsher deserts than these. In 1527, Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca and his fellow explorers were shipwrecked off the coast of what we now call Florida, but was then simply a wilderness separated by sea and thousands of miles of land from the nearest Spanish colony. They were able to build boats that took them as far as Galveston, Texas, before a storm left them stranded with no food, water, or even clothing. Hostile natives killed and enslaved the majority of the party. The few Spaniards who survived the first few years of captivity eventually fled their captors and began the long walk through the Chihuahuan Desert. Of the 300 men who departed Hispaniola on the Núñez expedition, only 4 ever saw Spain again. How did they do it? In his memoir, de Vaca credits his survival to blind faith in the hope that he would someday reach civilization. Rather than give up, quit, suffer the same fate as the vast majority of his companions, he moved forward through the desert, one step at a time, refusing to give up, knowing that he would one day reach the other side. Kind of puts things in perspective, doesn't it? Maybe our deserts aren't as uncrossable as they may seem. What deserts have you crossed during your summers at Red Arrow? Maybe you thought about giving up on the longest day of a hiking trip, taking off your pack, and sitting down next to the trail refusing to keep walking. But you didn't. You took another step, and before you knew it, you reached the other side. Maybe you were served a meal in the mess hall that you didn't like. You could have sat there, refused to eat, and gone hungry the rest of the day. But you didn't. You took each bite one at a time, and eventually, you reached the other side. Maybe you were scared to stand up on stage with a full rec hall during the camp play and delivering the lines you practiced. You could have run away, given up, and chosen not to step out in front of the curtain. But you didn't. You delivered your lines or solos one word at a time, and eventually, you reached the other side. What deserts have you crossed at home? Have you struggled with a subject at school? You could always quit, drop out, and focus exclusively on the subjects that come easily to you. But if you push forward, one day at a time, you'll learn the material, pass the tests, and eventually be done with that difficult class. Are you frustrated that your soccer or lacrosse teams aren't practicing and playing games? You could quit, give up, never practice and play your favorite sports again. Or you can practice in your backyard, talk to your coach on the phone, focus on your overall fitness, and keep moving forward until your team meets again. When Robin Davidson finally reached the Indian Ocean, after months of walking across the desert, she was asked how she did it. Her reply was, "I listened to the little voice inside that told me I can do it, and I learned to ignore the louder voice that told me to quit. Obstacles became opportunities." Excuses fell from her conscience and remained somewhere on the trail of her footsteps from Alice Springs to the ocean. The uncrossable desert had been conquered. If Robin Davidson could walk 1,700 miles alone through one of the harshest, most dangerous ecosystems on the planet, we can all cross the smaller deserts we encounter every day. So keep walking, no matter how difficult the journey may be. Someday soon, you will reach the other side. Amen.
And now may the peace of the forest, the call of the loons, the inspiration of the hills, the warmth of the sun, the strength of the trees, the fragrance of the woods, the joy of a wind, the calm of the lake, and all of which is the creator of all good things, be in your hearts, today and always.
Thank you so much for watching this week's chapel service. Next week is our 7th and final chapel service of the summer, so be sure to mark your calendars and tune in next Sunday to watch our final chapel service. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.